Hello folks and welcome to this new episode of my Italian campaign. Having basically wiped out the Allies from Africa, from Central Africa, the goal of the 1942 campaign was first of all to finish off the African theater. And again, the peculiar disposition of my troops led to another great, I would say, victorious encirclement. And this time I took note of where this encirclement happened, and it happened in central Congo, in the ex-Belgian colony, in which the bulk of the Allied divisions, I think there were again roughly between 20 and 22 divisions, they were deployed there, and by pushing once again on the southern edge of the front line with my motorized troops, I managed to trap the Allied divisions in Congo, and by, let's say, exploiting the fact that Portugal was still neutral, I managed to seal the huge pocket, and in a matter of 1 week and a half, roughly 10 days, the pocket was shrinked and then once again wiped out. And having therefore annihilated the bulk of the enemy divisions in Congo, I split my forces into two. I think was the first this was the second army, led by Soddu, was redeployed along the Turkish border, while the motorized army of Praska had the honor of finishing off the South Africans, a job that was carried out in a very quick way. And finally, I would say slightly later than what happened in real history, in 1942, I finally decided to declare war on Greece, because the other Axis nations had already collapsed Yugoslavia, and while I was, let's say, too late to do anything to participate in the Yugoslavian war, on one hand I was late, on the other hand this delay helped me, because against the Greek forces I could deploy the entire First Army, led by General of the Alpine troops Martinat, who enjoyed now a full complement of troops, so 24 divisions, and amongst those 24 divisions I have included the 6 Alpine divisions, as well as all the 18 mountain infantry divisions which were available and which were historically deployed by the Italian army. And of course, let's say the tide this time was on my side, because I enjoyed a significant numerical superiority against the Greek forces, and also because I attacked from as well from the Bulgarian front. And well, war in Greece ended up relatively quickly, but before I could carry on any other offensive, I realized I had to deploy more troops in the field, and especially it was required to have at least 1.25 million of troops deployed on the field. And therefore I put in the training queue some more garrison divisions to protect my industry in Africa, because yes, apparently there was some industry in Africa, and I've also put in the training queue 8 or 10, I don't remember now, newly raised armored divisions with the newly produced medium tanks. And while this was going on, the war against the enemy submarines and convoys was being unleashed in the Mediterranean, and I was also taking care to periodically have a look at the Eastern Front, because as you can see, somehow the Red Army managed to push deeply into Romania along the Black Sea. And what was really unexpected for me was to see that all of a sudden the Red Army triumphantly marched into Bucharest, leading to the capitulation of Romania. And yeah, so when I saw that for the first time, I was like, oh my god, I am, yeah, you know what I mean, right? Because the capitulation of Romania meant that Germany could not access anymore the large oil fields of Ploiești. Luckily, however, when Romania capitulated, or by the time that Romania capitulated, the Axis had some strong infantry reserves behind the front line, which allowed the Germans, the Hungarians, and the Romanians to again liberate the part of Romania that was officially controlled by the Soviets. Yeah. And in the meantime, as I was controlling the Eastern Front, I was having a look at my training queues, because I wanted to get these national focus done as soon as possible. And as soon as my divisions were, let's say, ready for deployment, I said, okay, it's time to send those guys in the fields. And by doing so, I managed to get 1.25 million troops, which was the requirement for my new focus. And in the meantime, I decided to plan some amphibious operations for the upcoming conflict against Turkey. And also because I wanted to get rid of those 6 Greek divisions, which I don't know how they still held on a fucking tiny island, completely out of supplies, but still they were just standing there. Maybe they were, I don't know, they were robbing from civilians. I have no idea. I really have no idea. And in the meantime, because I had to manage more than one front, I also had to manage the internal front, and mainly the air warfare on the internal front in Italy, because the Allied all of a sudden decided to bomb the shit out of me in northern Italy with 1,500 heavy bombers. And against them I could just oppose my miserable 200 fighters. And yeah, as was, let's say, supposed to happen, I lost quite a huge chunk of industry. And the biggest losses for me were the synthetic rubber factories that I, by mistake, constructed and built in northern Italy. And yeah, having seen that Romania capitulated, I was like, yeah, okay, so now it's game over. But then no, the Axis, as I said before, the Axis managed to recover some of the lost lands, and the Axis AI kept insisting on calling me to the arms against the Soviet Union. But at the time, I thought that I was far from being ready, because before declaring war against the Soviet Union, I wanted to clear, let's say, the Turkish front, because I wanted to have a direct access on the Caucasus. And on the other hand, I wanted to make sure that the oil fields of Iraq were in Italian hands. And before launching the offensive against Turkey, which began in late 1942, I decided to strike at the Greek garrison, which was stationed in the island of in the Aegean Sea. And I think I told you now many times that I am really bad in managing naval operations, and in this episode I confirmed that I'm also really bad in managing amphibious operations, because I was stupid and I did not train any marine divisions, any amphibious tanks. I just picked some random infantry divisions. I told them, okay guys, you need to prepare for the invasion. And the invasion miserably failed. The invasion that did not fail, however, was the one directed against Turkey, especially against the Turkish port of Izmir. This was all, I would say, calculated. I massed my second army on the Syrian-Turkish front to attract most of the Turkish troops there, while I landed behind their lines, basically, in Izmir. And okay, so I had to redeploy all my air force. I had to expand the local port infrastructures to get some supplies flowing and reaching my divisions there. But still, once the first foothold was established, I could bring in reinforcements. And actually, I brought the entire Italian First Army in the Izmir breachhead. And in the meantime, I also had to deploy some extra troops along the Bulgarian front because the Turkish forces just invaded Bulgaria, and it was funny to get this, let's say, three-front war with the Soviet Union but the Bulgarian forces and Turkish all fighting a war in that, let's say, Istanbul breachhead, yeah. And by the time that the Izmir breachhead began to expanding, I didn't notice that, but the Greek forces somehow managed to launch a counterattack and they invaded the Turkish land. And while at first I was a bit worried that this completely cut off my units from every supply, on the other hand I was happy because this now exposed the Greek divisions to my powerful counterstrokes, and as you may have just witnessed, those poor guys were just annihilated while they were desperately trying to fall back once again on their fucking islands. And in the meantime, the Italian Second Army pushed deeply into the Turkish territory and reached the Black Sea coast near Trabzon, effectively dividing into two the remnants of the Turkish army. A small pocket was trapped between Trabzon and the Caucasus, while another huge, let's say, pincer was advancing in towards, let's say, middle Turkey with the Italian First Army from the west and the Second Army from the east. And the Battle of Turkey lasted for, let's say, longer than my expectations, and because I don't know, maybe the Turkish people wanted to fight to the death. They may have remembered what happened between Italy and Turkey in 1912, but when Ankara and Konya fell, all enemy resistance just collapsed. And by the end of 1942, I finally established a front line with the Soviet Union, and luckily the other Axis forces now managed to also stabilize the front in Romania. And I think I don't have to say this, but in the next episode, guys, you will assist. I can spoiler it to you. You will assist to the final collapse of the Soviet Union. With the defeat with the victory in Africa and in Turkey, it was now the time to bring to the knees the Red Giant. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you like this series, and hope you will enjoy the last episode, which will come very, very soon. Bye bye.